I see someone joined. Hey, Barb. Trying to figure this out. I'm trying to exit out so I can start their watch party. Do you know how to do this? It won't let me exit. Okay, hold on one second. I'm gonna log out for a moment. Hey everyone. Glad to see a few people joining. We'll begin in just 2 or 3 minutes here. Hey Bree. Yeah, I'm trying to exit out to start a watch party, but I don't know enough about this Facebook Live stuff. First timer over here. So we'll get started in just 2 minutes. Feel free to just relax. Find a comfortable seated position. We'll see how many more join us. Hope everyone's doing good. Happy Tuesday. I'm ready for this, Chloe. I love seeing everyone chatting, joining in. Feel free to wave. All right, guys. Well, I think we should get started. It's almost 5:30. All right. Welcome, guys. Welcome to No Studios Unplugged, Yoga and Mindfulness. My name is Lindsey Ruenger, and we're going to be doing a mindfulness practice today. We're going to be talking about what mindfulness is and how we can incorporate it into our lives, especially during this weird time that we're in. And then we'll be going through about a 30-minute yoga flow, getting our bodies moving a little bit. And then we'll end with some questions, and I'll take questions over the chat at the very end. So if you are, whatever space that you're in, finding a comfortable position, you can be seated on the floor, cross-legged, in a chair, on a couch, on a bed, whatever is most comfortable for you. And before we start, I first really want to thank No Studios for having me today. I want to thank Bree Graber, my friend, for all your support with this. Appreciate it so much. And a short background about me. I started teaching yoga and mindfulness, particularly yoga, a few years ago. I started teaching kids, and I became certified while my husband and I were living in Chicago about 2 years ago. And I really started doing yoga because it was helping me physically to relieve some tightness and some tension in my upper body. My background is in dance, so I've been dancing since I was 5 or 6 years old, and I went to college at UW-M, shout out UW-Milwaukee, for dance as well. And I started doing yoga just to relieve and open up my shoulders a little bit. And it helped quite a bit with that, but what I didn't realize was that more importantly, yoga really helped me to relieve stress and to help me manage challenging emotions. It helped me to become more open and honest with myself and with my spirituality. And that's what brought me into the practice of mindfulness. So when I moved back here to Milwaukee just last year, I started teaching for a company called Reset Mind Body, and we work in Milwaukee Public Schools, kindergarten. I teach kindergarten through 8th grade mindfulness. And it's really a powerful thing and an amazing thing to be able to teach kids this, because we don't realize that that kids feel stress in the same way that adults do. So that's where my background is at. I also teach at 2 studios here in Milwaukee, both amazing and lovely spaces and communities. Just shout out to INVIVO Wellness and Firefly Yoga Loft. If you haven't checked out either of those places, please do. They're amazing. They're both doing online work right now. And once this all is lifted and we can go back into the world, I really suggest you taking a class there. So anywho, all right, let's jump right into it. So what is mindfulness? It's a big, hot word, right? And really the definition of mindfulness is to pause, to pay attention to what is happening right now in the present on purpose. I'll say that one more time. So mindfulness is to pause, to pay attention to what is happening right now on purpose. And you can even add in non-judgmentally. And when I say that, I mean that we focus our attention on purpose consciously from an observer's standpoint. So that is what mindfulness is. Whenever you pay attention on purpose to what you're experiencing, whether it be your senses, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel, or whether it be your breath or your body, or your emotions or your thoughts, anytime you're paying attention to that experience while it's happening, you are being mindful. So you really can incorporate it into a lot of different aspects of your life. Essentially paying attention to what you're doing while you're doing it. And going back to paying attention to the present, it's really easy to think about the future and about the past. It's challenging to think about the present. So I challenge you today and every day going forward to take little moments to be more present, to focus your attention on what's happening now. And as cheesy as it sounds, we only have right now. That's our only guarantee. And again, I know that especially in our situation, a lot of us are probably thinking about the future, like how long are we going to be here inside and what's going to happen? What is the new normal going to look like? And that's really understandable. That's really normal if you're having those thoughts. Just know that we can come back to the present at any time. And we can train our brains to be more mindful by meditating. So meditation and mindfulness are separate from each other. Mindfulness is more of a way of life, and meditation is the practice. So something that we're always doing in the present is we're breathing. So that's one thing that we're going to focus on. It's not something we normally focus on because our body just does it for us, right? So we're going to start with just that. We're going to start with a breathing exercise and practice a little bit. We're going to start there. So again, coming into a seated position of your choice, whether that be sitting in a chair, on the floor. If you even want to lie down, that's totally fine too, just any sort of comfortable position. And we're going to be doing something called an Ujjayi breath. And I'm going to be incorporating some timing with it as well. All right. I need to calm myself down right now. Paying attention to my nervousness at the moment. So finding your sitting bones, either on the floor, on the chair, wherever you are. Rooting down through the earth and lifting up through the crown of the head, lengthening the spine. We want to find space here within the spine and length, but also sitting in a way that feels comfortable. So if it feels more comfortable for you to round your shoulders a little bit, please feel free to do that. Just allowing your hands to rest on your lap or maybe on a table. Relaxing your shoulders away from your ears. Just gently starting to notice your breath. I invite you to close your eyes or just soften your gaze here. Noticing the breath without changing anything. Checking in from an observer's standpoint. Start to take your inhalations in through the nose and exhalations out through the mouth. On your exhales, taking it as a steady HA sound coming from the back of the throat as if you were fogging up a mirror in front of you. Keeping this slow, steady breath nice and gentle. Slowing down. On your next exhale out, close your lips halfway through the exhale. Continue that steady HA sound. On your next exhale, keeping the lips closed the whole time. This is called our Ujjayi breath in yoga. Also kind of sounds like the waves of an ocean or like Darth Vader. Taking this at your own pace. I invite you to take this a little bit further by breathing in through the nose for 2 or 3 or 4 counts and doubling the time that you exhale. So if you're breathing in for 3, breathing out, keeping the lips closed for 6 counts. In for 3, out for 6. And maybe you're just at 2 and 4, or maybe 4 and 8, taking it at your own pace. Letting the breath calm and soothe you, taking maybe 3 or 4 more rounds of this breath. If you find yourself becoming short of breath or dizzy in any way, please just come back to your most natural breath here. We'll start to come back to our natural breath, fluttering open the eyes, coming back to the space. You can even make some small movements here, maybe taking some shoulder rolls, maybe rotating the head from side to side, or even stretching your arms up above your head. right, and we'll come back. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, you can kind of take that at your own pace. That's an ujjayi breath in yoga, and I also kind of incorporated a soothing breath by doubling the time that you exhale. When we do that, we calm down our nervous system. So we have our sympathetic nervous system, our fight, flight, and freeze response. This is the response that we would feel if we were running in the woods from a bear. It's the same response that we would activate when we feel high levels of stress. So in order to come down and come back into the present and slow down your nervous system, the breath is really important there. Because when we're in our sympathetic state, our fight, flight, and freeze, our breath tends to get really fast. And in order, again, to come back down and to come into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest state, we have to slow down our breath. And there's scientific research around doubling the time that you exhale can help you to get into that state. So I hope that helped a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about, yes, I know there's snow today. I see someone chatted, watching in the snow out the window. There's snow in Milwaukee too, it's pretty crazy. Snow in April. So let's talk about how we can incorporate this mindfulness into our lives right now. How can we incorporate this into our daily routine? So I just want to share with you what has worked for me. And this may not be what works for you, but I found that this is really helpful. So when an emotion arises, like anxiety or like worry, which have been my top two lately, I name that emotion. So a psychiatrist kind of coined the phrase, name it to tame it. Naming an emotion while you're having it by coming into the present. So actually being mindful of that emotion, recognizing it for what it is, and even sitting with that emotion. So sometimes I even like to associate a character to these emotions. So if I feel a sense of anxiety, something I'll say to myself, you can even say it out loud, is this is what anxiety feels like. This is what anxiety feels like in my body and in my mind. Or I feel anxiety. Just saying it out loud, naming the emotion is anxiety, can help you, just that simple act can help you to tame that emotion. And then from there, once you recognize it, you can figure out what to do with it. Because if we can't recognize our emotions, then we don't know that we need to do something about it. From there, I take a moment after I name that emotion. I usually try to come back to the present by just coming back to my breath, even coming back to noticing sensation in my body or moving my body, getting into my body instead of my brain so much. But again, naming it to tame it. Thoughts of anxiety and fear and worry, especially right now, they're coming from a place of thinking about the future. We're thinking about something that may or may not happen, and we don't know the answers right now. We don't know what's going to happen. So there's really no point in thinking about that. You can come back to the present to calm yourself down. That anxiety, that fear, that worry is coming from thinking about the present. And then kind of on the opposite end of things, thoughts of anger and sadness and resentment usually come from a place of thinking about the past. So when we come back to the present, it's a way of bringing in a sense of calm in our bodies and our minds. So working towards practicing daily. And I know that is a challenge for a lot of us, including myself, but even just 30 seconds. And we train our brains when we practice meditation, when we practice mindfulness. We train our brains to become more thoughtful and more mindful. And our brain, there's research around how our brain actually becomes more flexible. And this is called neuroplasticity. So our brain actually takes different form and different shape when we incorporate mindfulness into our lives. But we have to train. We have to train our brains in the same way that we would learn how to ride a bike and learn how to swim. Any of those things, it's the same thing. We have to practice to get better at it. I know it's taken me quite a few years to be able to sit in silence without my brain thinking about the dishes in the sink and what am I going to have for dinner and all these different things, right? And still that happens to me all the time. So just know that if your mind is wandering, even during that practice we just did, where we were sitting and breathing, and if you notice that you were thinking about other things, it's okay. It's all good. And that's a part of the practice. The practice is redirecting your thoughts and your attention back to your breath. So be a little kinder towards yourself. That's something I have to remind myself of too. Be kind, be compassionate towards yourself, especially during this time where we're feeling cooped up and some of us are home alone even. So just know, send yourself a little bit of kindness, a little bit of compassion, and especially while doing meditation. It takes time and it takes practice. So don't worry if you're having lots of thoughts, you're having racing thoughts, and just know that you can come back to the present anytime. All right, what else are my tips and tricks? I think I said this before, but get out of your head and into your body. Sometimes we get caught up in all these different racing thoughts at once, and sometimes we just need to move our bodies. And I like to think of yoga as really a mindful form of moving. So that's why we incorporate yoga along with mindfulness. All right, so that's what we're going to do right now. I think that was the end of my mindfulness portion. Again, I'll take questions at the very end. I would love to have your questions. Not that I'm a super mindfulness expert, but I'll do the best I can. But let's get into our yoga practice. I would love if you were to find a position lying down on your backs. So you don't have to have a yoga mat, not required. If you don't have a yoga mat, you can just take a blanket and spread it out nice and wide on your floor, and that can be your yoga mat today. So we're going to keep it pretty gentle. I'm just going to move my camera here a little bit so that you can see me better on my mat. I actually would even suggest grabbing 2 blankets. One, again, if you don't have a yoga mat, one for underneath you, and then a second one for padding for your knees, especially if you have any sort of knee sensitivity or pain. And I'm going to get a little bit of yoga jams going, and then we'll get started. All right, guys. So again, coming to a lying down position on your mat or your blanket. Any sort of comfortable position here. And I invite you to find your palms to look up towards the ceiling. Relaxing your shoulders into the mat. Closing your eyes, you're softening your gaze. Feeling the rise and the fall of the belly and the chest as you breathe in and out. Noticing sensation in the body, noticing any areas of tension or holding. Practicing mindfully without judgment. Just observing. And with those areas of tension or tightness, focusing on those areas throughout your practice, giving them some extra love and attention. On your next exhale, go ahead and give your knees a squeeze. Draw them in towards your chest. You can even rock back and forth here on your low back. Maybe make some circles with your knees, either independently or together. You can cup your knees with your hands. You're starting to feel the hip creases opening up. Focusing on the breath throughout our whole yoga practice today, our yoga asana practice. When you're ready, start to exhale your feet back down towards the mat, taking them nice and wide towards the edges, or towards the edges of your blanket, a little bit wider than hip distance. And let your knees fall over towards the right side of the room. You can just let your arms rest down by your sides here, or you can gently lengthen them out from your shoulders. And breathe in through the nose. Draw your knees up through center. Exhale over to your left. Inhale up through center. Exhale to your right. If you'd like to incorporate the gaze here, maybe looking over the opposite shoulder. Exhale to center and over to your left. Maybe looking to your right if it feels okay for your neck. A few more times right and left, taking this at your own pace. Making your way back through center, no rush, take your time. One more time, give your knees a squeeze in towards your chest. Draw your nose up towards your knees. So you make yourself into a little ball. And lower your upper body to the mat. Keep your right knee in towards your chest, lengthen your left leg long on the floor. You can interlace your fingers here, grabbing your shin or your knee, drawing the leg inward for a supine pigeon. Still staying active with the left leg here, flexing out through the heel. One more breath in. Exhale out, left knee comes into the chest, draw your nose up towards your knees, round your spine. And lower your upper body to the mat or to the floor. Lengthen your right leg long. Take some nice deep breaths. And on your next exhale, draw your right knee in towards your chest. Last time, nose to knees, curling the spine. Lowering the upper body. And then go ahead and roll all the way over to one side in a fetal position. Press into the floor with your hands and slowly lift yourself up. Take your time, let your head be heavy on the way here. Then we're going to come into a seated position. So cross-legged, seated Sukhasana, easy seated pose. You can just let your hands rest on your knees here. We're going to take some full body circles. So drawing the chest forward towards the floor in front of you. Then over to the right side. And back, rocking back towards your tailbone. Round your spine, look towards your belly button. And over to the left. Dropping the heart space down towards the floor and over to one side. Making these big circles with the torso, keeping your sitting bones nice and grounded on the floor. reversing any circles. And relaxing the face and the jaw. And making your way back through center, lifting up from the sitting bones. And if you have that extra blanket, feel free to set it up underneath your seat here, just so your hips are a little bit higher than your knees, and it helps to relieve that tension that you may feel when you're seated like this. As you inhale, draw your arms up over your head, lengthen through your fingertips. And exhale, right hand or fingertips down towards the floor, reaching up and over to stretch. Inhale through center, both arms overhead. Exhale to your left. Nice and easy, keeping those sitting bones grounded to the earth. Inhale to reach. Exhale to your right. Maybe incorporating the gaze here to look up towards that top hand. Inhale, center. Last time, exhale to your left. Breathing in, both arms overhead. As you exhale, take your left hand to your right knee, twisting gently towards the right side of the room. From the belly button, up through the heart space, the shoulders, and the gaze. Breathing in. Exhale out to unwind, reaching the arms up overhead. Exhale, opposite hand to knee, twisting from the belly button. If you find yourself shortening or holding your breath here in any way, just notice what it feels like to back off a little bit in this twist, prioritizing the breath. One more breath in. Exhale out, unwinding. One more time, reach those arms up overhead. And exhale your hands down towards the floor in front of you. Come onto your knees and your hands, and we're gonna set up for table pose. So again, if you like extra cushion or you need extra cushion underneath your knees, my floor is pretty hard here, so I'm gonna take this option. Stacking the wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, lengthening out through the crown of the head and the tailbone. Breathing in, drop the belly, open the heart, arch the spine to cow. As you exhale, drop the head and the tail, round the spine, looking towards the navel. Inhale, arching, pressing through the hands. Exhale to round the spine. Taking this at your own pace. Maybe you'd like to go a little faster or slower. And see if you can match the length of your inhale with the length of the cow. That sounds really funny. Exhale with the length of your cat. Feel free to incorporate some other small movements here if you'd like to wag your tail back and forth, or take some hip circles. Just doing whatever feels good to kind of warm up the spine and the hip creases. And we'll meet back in a cat spine. So with our head and tailbone rounded towards the mat, take your knees a little bit wider, draw your big toes to touch, and lengthen your hips back towards your heels for child's pose. Take it nice and slow, feeling the low back spread wide from side to side. Coming back to the breath, lengthening out through the fingertips, melting the heart space down towards the mat. Breathe. back to your hands and knees, drawing your knees underneath your hips. Walk your hands about a handprint forward, lengthening your table. Tuck your toes and send your hips high towards the ceiling for downward facing dog. Once you arrive here, go ahead and bend into the knees so you can press into your hands and draw your chest towards your thighs. And then if you'd like to tread your feet from right to left, just playing around here, getting situated in our first downward facing dog. Really feeling the tailbone high, drawing the chest towards the thighs, pressing the hands into the floor. Taking one more cleansing breath in. Exhale out, draw your knees back to the mat, sit back to your heels, take a child's pose. You can even pile your hands on the mat or on the floor. Draw your forehead to your hands. Take one more breath in. Exhale out, come back up to your table. Lengthen your table, send your hips high, downward facing dog. Making space in the spine. Nice deep breath in. On your next exhale out, bend into your knees, walk your hands towards the back of your mat or blanket. Finding your feet hip distance apart, allow your upper body to just hang over your legs here. Grabbing opposite elbows for ragdoll pose, taking your head in between your arms in that frame you've made. Maybe say yes and say no with your head here. Breathing in. Give a little bend into your left leg. Draw your left fingertips down towards the floor. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling or just find your hand on your hip. So twisting the shoulders and the upper body to look over to the side of the room. Breathing in this twist. Exhale out and fold. Coming up, drawing the right fingertips to the mat, either left hand to hip or lengthen the arm up over your head, twisting. Trying to keep the hips square towards the front of the blanket or the mat. Exhale out and fold. Looking towards the top of your mat, walk your hands towards the front, stacking shoulders over wrists for a high plank. If this is too much, you can draw your knees down towards the floor. Take a supported plank here. If your knees are off the mat, aligning your shoulders and your hips on the same plane. Sending energy out through the heels, out through the crown of the head. Breathing in. As you exhale, bend into your elbows, keep them by your sides, lower all the way to the mat, and then find your forearms out in front of you. Stack your elbows underneath your shoulders. Tops of the feet are planted onto the mat. Now, as if you were going to do like an army crawl and draw your heart forward towards the front of the room, activating between the shoulder blades. While you're here in Sphinx pose, draw your chin down towards your chest. Keep pressing your forearms into the mat. Draw the right ear to look over towards the right shoulder. And chin to chest, left ear to left shoulder. Chin to chest, looking back forward. Take your hands and plant them by your low ribs, by your sides. Tuck your toes, come back up through table or high plank, and stretch back to downward facing dog. Nice deep breath in. Exhale out, bend into your knees, look forward to the top edge of your blanket or mat, and tiptoe. Take as many steps as you need to the top here. Find your feet hip distance apart. Bring your hands to your shins or your thighs and press into your legs. Come up for a halfway lift. Roll your shoulders away from the floor. Lengthening the spine from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Big breath in through the nose. Exhale out, fold over the legs. One more time. Inhale, hands to shins or thighs. Come up halfway, lift. Exhale and fold. Breathing in, come up again halfway. Press into your feet. Bring your arms out to a T pose. And look up towards the ceiling. Come to standing. Reach your arms up over your head. And exhale your hands together at heart center and come to face forward. This is called our Anjali Mudra, with our hands pressed together in front of the heart center, which means the bringing together of the heart, the mind, and the soul. Slow, gentle breath in. Exhale out. Maybe coming back to that Ujjayi breath that we did at the beginning of this session. Breathe in, circle your arms up over your head. As you exhale out, cactus the arms, opening up through the shoulders. Taking a 90-degree angle with the elbows. If you find your knees locking here, just give them a micro bend, soften behind the knees. Tilting the heart space up towards the ceiling. And breathing in, reset the spine, lengthen the arms. Exhale your hips back and your heart forward as you dive back to forward fold. Turn again here. Inhale to lengthen, halfway lift. Exhale, fold over the legs. Inhale, look up towards the ceiling as you reverse. Reach your arms up over your head. Exhale, hands to heart center. Breathing in, lengthen the arms. Once again, cactus the arms open, tilt the heart space. Give your knees a micro bend. Breathe in. Exhale, reset the spine. And diving forward, hips back, heart leads you down, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen, halfway lift. Bend into your knees, touch your fingertips down, and step your right foot back. Lower your knee to the mat, or if you can scoot your blanket underneath there to have that extra cushion. And set your right hand down on the mat, left hand to your hip, or lengthen it up overhead. Finding your left knee in line with your left ankle. Breathe in. Exhale out, switching the arms here. Left shoulder pressing up against the inner side of the left knee. Reach your arm, right arm up overhead or to your hip, whichever is most comfortable. Inviting in the breath. Lower your right hand to the mat. We're going to heel toe this left foot over to the side of the room, coming into our lizard pose. So just getting deeper into this stretch, finding the toes to look towards the side of the room or the high corner of the room. Option to stay up on your fingertips or your hands. If you'd like to take it a little bit further, lowering down to your elbows here. So listening mindfully to your body, what is it telling you? Mine's telling me I'm not ready for my elbows today. One more breath in. Exhale out, heel toe the left foot back in through center. Tuck your back toes, lift your knee, and launch forward to the top of the mat, both feet hip distance apart. Inhale, hands to shins or thighs, lengthen, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. One more time, breathe in, lengthen. Keep that length of the spine as you bend your knees, touch your fingertips down. Step your left foot back and lower your knee to the mat or to the blanket. Left hand to the floor, right hand either to your hip or reaching up overhead. Twisting from the upper body, spiraling open this top shoulder. Twisting out, bringing out. Exhale, right hand to the inner edge of the right leg. Shoulder to knee pressing against each other. Maybe you just grab your left hip here. Maybe you lengthen it up overhead. Dropping the hips down towards the floor. Breathing in. Exhale out, left hand to the floor. Heel toe your right foot over to the right side. So I'm finding this outer rotation of the leg, the toes and the knee looking towards the high corner of the room. Coming into your version of lizard, maybe on your fingertips, on your hands, or elbows. Coming back to that Ujjayi breath, that soothing breath. Tuck your back toes, lift your knee, walk your right foot in through center. Lunge forward to the top of the mat. Breathe in, halfway lift. Bend into your knees, touch your hands down, step back once again to your high or supported plank. So knees can be up or down. Removing my blanket to the side, feel free to do the same. All right, lowering halfway through chaturanga or straight to your belly. Find your hands placed by your sides, by your low ribs, and then untuck your toes so the tops of the feet are planted. Breathe in, lift the heart, taking a no hands cobra, floating the hands off the mat. Take a breath in, exhale out and fold. One more time, breathe in, no hands cobra, squeezing the shoulders onto the back. Exhale out, release. This time taking a full cobra, pressing your hands into the mat, peel the head, neck, and chest, relaxing the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, fold. Tuck your toes, either come up through high plank or table, and stretch it back, downward facing dog. Lengthen the spine long. Incorporating the breath. Lowering the knees back to the mat. All right, we're going to sit onto our heels. Rotate your legs out in front of you. We'll take just a couple seated poses before we cool down and come back to our backs. So finding your right foot in towards your sitting bones. Take your left foot over the top, right on top of the sitting bones here, so I have to readjust to do that. Feel free to do the same. Lengthen the spine long. Reaching up overhead, taking opposite hand to knee, or finding the forearm on the outer edge of the thigh here, twisting one last time. Twisting out all of that residual holding, tension. Letting go, breathe in. Exhale out to release. Unwind your legs, reach your legs forward, toes looking up towards the ceiling. Lengthen the arms up towards the ceiling and exhale, fold over the legs. Doesn't matter if you can't reach your ankles or your toes. We're just softening the upper body. Connecting to the Ujjayi breath. Listening to the wave of the breath. Rolling up through the spine. Draw the left ankle in towards the sitting bone. Right foot comes up over the top, making yourself into a little pretzel. Lengthen through the spine, reach both arms up overhead. And exhale to twist. Nice and easy at your own pace. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. On your next exhale out, unwinding, reaching the arms up overhead. And lowering, lengthening the legs. One more time. Folding forward. Just softening, becoming more passive. On your next exhale, roll up through the spine. All right, we're gonna lower on down to our back. Any way you'd like to get there is fine. Once you arrive, either draw your knees back in towards your chest, or if you'd like to take happy baby pose, grabbing the ankles, the feet, or the toes, deeply bending the knees, keeping the whole spine rested on the floor. Maybe give yourself a little rock back and forth. And drawing the knees in towards the chest. And then let everything come to the mat. Limbs rested, palms looking up. Coming into our final resting pose, our Shavasana. Letting the eyelids rest. The shoulders and the hips be heavy. Letting any residual tension just wash away with the breath. Slowly start to deepen the breath once again. Bring your awareness back into the space. Inviting in some small movements, maybe rocking your head back and forth, or wiggling fingers and toes. When you're ready, lengthen your arms up over your head. Reach towards the wall behind you. Pointing your toes, reaching through your fingertips. And exhale your knees to your chest. Rolling to one side in a fetal position. And pressing up with your hands, nice and slow. Coming back to seated. I wish we could hang out in Shavasana all day, which you can, because you're at home. So if you'd like an extended Shavasana, feel free to just stay where you're at. Let's bring our hands to heart center. Taking 3 deep breaths together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Thank you so much for joining me today for yoga and mindfulness. Namaste. Right. Thank you so much for everyone that joined in. I would love to take any questions or comments that you have via chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. If not, see you later. I hope to see you soon. I teach. How often do I practice? That's a good question. So, actually the first part of my question is I teach virtually right now, Fridays at noon, yoga for the body, mind, the spirit with INVIVO Wellness. And I practice along with you, so that's one time I definitely practice. And Sundays at 11, Vinyasa Flow, 11 to 12. Again, both with INVIVO Wellness, so if you have questions about that, feel free to message me. But in terms of my own home practice, honestly, and every day or every week it looks really differently. So sometimes it just means laying down in a restorative pose for 10-15 minutes, or sitting in silence, just listening to my breath for 5 minutes, sometimes just 30 seconds. And yoga, it's really whenever I feel like I need it. So maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I'm nothing too crazy. I really just like to get my shoulders moving, my hips moving, things like that. Good question. Put me on the spot. Do you ever have a guided meditation suggestion to offer? Do I give a guided meditation suggestion? So there's lots of different guided meditations that you can find online. YouTube obviously is a great resource. There are 2 apps that I know of. The app Calm, which is also free for teachers. So if you're a teacher, it is free. And then there's one other one, Headspace, that will guide you through meditations as well. And usually with every yoga practice that I teach, and I've seen a lot of teachers do this as well, is they'll guide you through a 3, 4, or 5 minute meditation in the beginning of a yoga class and at the end during Shavasana. So what we did just now is a little bit shorter than what I would normally do. I like to give everyone at least like a 5 to 7 minute Shavasana. That was a mini one, just a teaser. I'm trying to think of any other. There's so many people out there right now, especially doing virtual guided yoga and meditations. Again, if you want anyone specific, just DM me, message me. I have so many friends out there doing the same thing. So thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Barb. Thank you, Shannon and Cannon and John and Steven and Dawn. You guys are awesome. Any other questions? Yes, thank you, No Studios. Yeah, so Calm and Headspace are a couple apps that I use. Calm myself. It has really nice music and guided visualizations, meditations, things like that. But really what we did today too, the Ujjayi breath, the calming breath, you can do on your own, just listening to the breath, and it's as simple as that. You guys are awesome. This has been so much fun. Thanks, Jamie. Thank you, thank you. Any more questions or comments? I'm surprised we didn't have a cat sighting today. He's been checking in all my yoga classes lately. So again, if you'd like to join my yoga classes Friday at, Friday at noon, Sunday at 11. And I hope to see you guys again. See you. All right, everybody, I think I'm going to sign off if there's no more questions. Have a great night. Enjoy this snowy weather if you're here in Milwaukee. And happy Milwaukee Day.